Hello, welcome everybody. We are back on a wonderful Wednesday over here on the WeCrochet Facebook page and YouTube channel. It is so great to have you guys here. We have a wonderful guest today that I can't wait to start talking with. But, excuse me, before we do that, let's let people start to come in, say hi, hello, where you're watching from, what you're working on. And I want to remind everybody that last Wednesday, trying to see my calendar. I always try to see my calendar. I should just bring it over with me. It would make things easier. Last Wednesday, we had a new release of some new colors on the site of our Capra and our Capretta, which Capra and Capretta are very similar other than Capretta is a fingering weight, Capra is a DK weight, but let's just get this right. So our Capra is a merino wool and cashmere, and that's the DK weight. And our Capretta is a superwash merino wool, cashmere, and a little bit of nylon in there. Excuse me, but they are all beautiful. We brought in a bunch of new colors. So we have this, it's kind of, I don't know, my coloring here today is not quite right. It's a beautiful blue that we have here. We also brought in like a periwinkle type blue, which is really, really beautiful too. We have a wonderful orangey spice color that is coming in. So you're definitely going to want to go and check out these brand new colors of Capra and Capretta. They're phenomenal yarns to use for garment making. They're super, super soft, and they have just a little bit of cashmere in there, so they make them a little bit of a luxury yarn that are so great to be making for garments and your other projects. We even brought in some neutrally brown colors and everything else. And I have to say, this is probably my favorite, guys, kind of like matches here. You know, I don't know. It's just like my color. This one, did we call this Iconic? That's what we called this color, so you can grab that one as well. So go ahead and check those out. We will throw a link into the chat. Oh, we already did. Jen's on top of it today. Thanks, Jen. She threw a link in there so that you can go ahead and check out the new Capra and Capretta colors that we have in the store on the website. So let's see, we have Angela today. Good morning, good afternoon. I'm not really sure where everybody's from. I try to remember, but it doesn't always happen. We have Julia, we have Monique, we have Vicky, Melissa, Dawn, Heather. It is so great to have all of you guys here today with us and watching live. We also love you if you're here on the replay. It's okay. We still get your questions. We still check them out. Let's see. Oh, some are working on a blanket. We have somebody working on a sweater. That is awesome. Cindy is here as well. Margaret working on a sweater. Crystal, Dawn, Chris Lopez is here. Great to see you all. Joy is here. Man, we got a lot of West Coaster California. Send some of your warm weather this way. I'm ready for spring. Speaking of warm weather, our wonderful guest today has warm weather pretty much all year long, and she could definitely send some up here our way. So let me bring in our wonderful guest. Today we have Michelle Ferguson. You may know her better as Two Brothers Blanket, but however you know her, I'm sure you love her, and hopefully you know about her. If not, now you're going to know. So let's bring her on in. Hi, Michelle.
Hi. Hello, everyone.
It is so great to have you here today. I'm excited to share what you have to share, but I'm also just really excited to get to chat with you and, just talk about crocheting in general. So thank you for coming.
Thanks for having me. I'm so excited.
Yeah. Let's see. Oh, somebody said they are working on a sweater in Capra. That is exciting. We can't wait to see it. We're getting a bunch of highs and hellos over here. It is so great to have everybody here. Okay, so for those who don't know, let's kind of rewind, go back in time, and let's talk about your story about how you got started in crochet and kind of how you transitioned into designing. And I want to make sure people know, one of the really cool things about Michelle is she is a left-handed designer.
Mm-hmm.
And, most people are right-handed trying to make it left-handed. But so if you have questions and you're left-handed, she's the one to check out. So go ahead and tell us your story.
Okay. So I started crocheting when I was 8 months pregnant with my youngest son, who is 11 now. And I wanted to learn how to make him cute little baby hats. And so I picked up a hook and some yarn and a little book, like a little tiny how to crochet book at Walmart. and just started learning. And then I got on YouTube and taught myself basically all the basic stitches and everything before he was born. I remember the day I went into labor, I was bouncing on my ball working on single crochets. Like, so it was up until I had him. And then I didn't touch a crochet hook until he was like 12 months old, because I had 2 under 3 years old, and it was just chaos that first year. So I picked it back up and I started making hats, and I started making, oh, sorry about that, guys. Started making, just following different patterns, trying different things, and it kind of became an obsession, and I loved it. And he was old enough at the time to, they were both sleeping better, and I was able to do more crocheting. So I started really getting into it. And then it was about a year or two later, I think almost 2 years later, that I designed my first sweater. And I had the encouragement of other crocheters, and they were like, you got to put a pattern out. You got to put a pattern out. And so I did and tried it, and it went really well. I was so shocked at how good it went. And I just had so many ideas that I started designing. And eventually I was selling stuff on Etsy, hats and stuff like that. And eventually I stopped doing that completely and just designed from there on. So that's how I got started.
Yeah, awesome. So there are a bunch of people saying hello. There are some people. So let's see. Becky says, I've bought many patterns from Michelle. She's an excellent designer.
Oh,
I 100% agree. I can't even remember when I found you, like, as a designer. It's been a long time that I've been following you and doing your patterns. And yes, there is a question. Is this the Magnolia sweater? Yes, it is, which you can find on the crochet.com website. We'll throw a link in there, and we can also show what other patterns Michelle has in our yarn, but you can also find her on the Two Brothers Blanket website, which will have all of her social links and things like that. We'll be putting in that link as well. Somebody did ask what I was wearing. This is the Homebody cardigan. We'll put that in. This is a different yarn and everything else, but we're here to talk about Michelle today. And so we do want to keep talking, but Dawn has a question for you.
Okay.
She wants to know, no, I'm not, okay, we're going to just kind of go with this. So what was your first sweater? So let's go with, what was the first sweater you designed?
Okay. The first sweater I designed was the Spring Breeze sweater blouse. So it's in Mighty Stitch. I've remade it in Mighty Stitch. So it was the very first one. The original version was just rectangles, 2 rectangles sewn together, and then the sleeves were worked in the round, attached to it. Now it is updated so that it's all worked in one piece, in the round, bottom up, and then you attach the sleeves and work the sleeves. So it's a little bit easier than it first was. But yep.
It's amazing how much you can learn in your journey about crochet and things like that as you just continue to do it more. Julia says that she is currently working on the Stash Buster sweater. So that is cool.
Yeah.
And yeah, so we're throwing in those links and everything, so you can go ahead and check them out. I was saying to Michelle, I feel like we're full circle here with the name of her brand and what she's just released. And so I thought maybe she could give us a little bit of a behind the scenes story of how she picked her name, and we can transition right into what you have now launched that all ties together.
Okay. So when I had got into the crocheting and was starting an Etsy shop to take like custom orders, I really enjoyed doing blankets. So I thought that was going to be like my niche. And so me and my husband were trying to figure out a name for for my business and what I was going to call the Etsy shop and all that. And we came up with Two Brothers Blankets because I have 2 boys. And so that's how the name came to be. And I've thought about changing it a million times because I do garments and not blankets and all this, but really it's just catchy and it sticks, and that's how people know me now. So it's here to stay. But like you said, full circle, here we are. I have designed a collection of men's crochet patterns that are just for men, sized for men. And put it in a book, made a book out of it. So yeah, it's definitely been a full circle moment.
Yeah, and what I love too, which people may or may not know, well, first of all, we're going to put a link into Michelle's website that's going to give you all the information about the book, where you can purchase it, the individual patterns that you can purchase as well. We should say there's 12 patterns in the book, and we were fortunate enough that they're done in WeCrochet yarns. We were able to partner with Michelle on this. We were so lucky to be able to do that and have her create these wonderful garments, because there is not that much out there for men or stuff that's stylish and fits well. I too have 2 boys who are always asking me to make them things. And I'm like, guys, it's hard to find stuff. Like, I'm really going to have to like tweak it or try to just like wing it. And so it's so nice to actually have a pattern to be able to go and do this. The book, though, is a self-published book. So if you're not part of the self-publishing world, if you're not part of the designing world, that's a lot of extra work. Just so everybody understands, like, this has been a labor of love for Michelle. For how long have you been working on this?
Over a year, just over a year.
Yeah. So, and just remember, she's also been doing everything else in her business, keeping up on, the patterns and the videos and everything else that's been going on. So we all need to give her a round of applause, a pat on the back for doing phenomenal things out there, and not just like forgetting us as the crocheter out there. She's been giving us stuff all year long. And now we have this beautiful, beautiful book. There is a question about, is it for men and boys or just men? So could you tell us about the sizes?
Yes, it is for just men. The hats are multi-size, so they can fit anybody. The garments, however, are just for men. They fit men small through 5X. I do have plans for children's versions, though. So hopefully fall, winter. So be ready.
And just remember too, that it does become like this gray area, because a lot of the sizes for like kids kind of go up to like a size 7, 8. And then really when you get into that like 10, 12, you can start getting your kids into like an extra small, a small, depending on how the project fits. So even though it doesn't have kid sizes, depending on how old the person is and their size, you still may be able to make some for some of those younger boys or those tween boys that are out there. So just make sure you are measuring and then looking to see what the pattern specs are.
Yep, for sure.
Yeah. Deborah says, I have 4 sons, all adults, have never made a sweater for any of them. I put this book on my wish list early this morning. Thrilled to have options. We agree. Yeah. I think it has turned out, and we should say that there are 12 patterns, but they are not all garments. So do you want to tell us a little bit about what's in the book?
Sure.
Pattern-wise?
Yeah. Okay. So we have 4 hat patterns. There is a slouch hat. There is one that is like slightly slouch, mini slouch is what I call it. And then there's 2 just straight beanies, like caps, the kind the guys just want to throw on when it's cold outside. Yep. So there's 4 hats. There's 2 scarves. They're both just your typical long scarf that a guy can wrap around him whenever he's going somewhere. And then there's 6 garment patterns. All of the garment patterns are small through 5X. We have a mock neck sweater that's on the cover. It's got the half button and the rib trim. We have a hoodie. The hoodie has been a huge favorite and is my husband's favorite. Your typical sweater vest for the guys for pictures or Easter or whatever. And we have a cardigan and then a color block sweater. And I'm forgetting one somewhere. How many is that? Did I name them all? I don't know. But yeah, there's lots of different choices. Different color options, different weight yarn options. So I wanted to just have a lot of like variety and just something a guy could look through and pick one out and be like, yeah, I like that one. So
yeah, I love it. And for those who don't know, if you look over, I think it's Michelle's left shoulder. Well, it's on my right of the screen, so I don't know, but it all gets flipped. There's the book or the cover, so you can see what it's going to look like. It is so awesome. I love to she made for men, and she uses her son and her husband as the models in the book. Like, how awesome is that?
And he is 13, almost 14. And in a small medium, like a few of the garments were even medium. He's tall, he's 6 foot, but,
oh my gosh.
but he is a teenager, and he fit into the men's easily. He's probably going to outgrow most of the sweaters by the summer. So yeah,
they just don't stop growing. They grow so fast.
They do.
Melissa said the Bramley sweater is so good. Which one is that one?
That's the one he's in here.
Okay.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure of all the names of them, but I mean, started to see the pictures, and they are all really awesome. That is a beautiful one. I love it in the color that you picked too. It's so classic.
Yeah, it's in the wool of the Andes Sport.
Awesome. So yeah, that was another question about the garments is what is the yarn weights for the garments? Do you have like, maybe not like what specifically for each one, but what is the range of yarn weights for the garments specifically?
Fingering all the way to worsted. There's no bulky. There's a few worsted. I have found that the lighter the weight is, the better, more comfortable, and more fabric-like the garments are. So a lot of the garments are sport weight, fingering weight, and then we have a few in DK and worsted.
Yeah. And don't be afraid of fingering weight yarn. I should have looked this up. There was a pattern that I tested for you. It was not an R yarn, but I used R yarn, and I went and used the Stroll fingering. And it was the one that had the 3 colors to it with like a little bit of like kind of a spike stitch to it. But I was like nervous at first going, oh my gosh, this is my first fingering weight garment. This is going to take forever. I'm going to hate doing it. First of all, it is one of my favorite cardigans that I wear all the time because it is lightweight. It is very flowy, but it keeps me nice and warm. Like it has opened my eyes to fingering weight as a garment yarn. Like obviously we knew it was a garment yarn, but it can be a little intimidating.
Yeah, I'm convinced they could all we could just make garments and fingering, and they would be the best. It just makes it feel more like something you would buy at the store and wear. The drape and the flow and everything is just so much nicer. You get a little stiff when you get up there in the worsted and the DK weight. So
well, it's not only stiff because some of the worsted weights are fine and they're flowy. It's heavy though.
Yeah.
It really starts to get heavy depending on what you're using for yarn, where when you use fingering, you're still getting a really nice drape. You're getting a really nice fabric, and it's not so heavy that you feel comfortable wearing it for long periods of time.
Yeah, exactly. The hoodie that everyone really seems to love is made in Stroll tweed fingering. And my husband loves it. Absolutely loves it.
One.
Yeah. He loves it. And he says it's so comfortable, and he would never have known that I made it versus bought it at a store if I just came home with it. So
it really does make a difference in that perception of you bought it versus you made it. Because if we just look at knitting, most of the times, well, maybe not most of the times, but a lot of garments do use fingering weight yarn in knitting to give it that really like store-bought look. And crocheters are starting to come around to it.
Yeah, I think so.
Which I think is really wonderful.
Yep, I do too. The few that I have designed, men's patterns that I have designed before are in worsted, and I'm like, I might have to rewrite those.
Well, we'll be waiting and ready for when they come out. So let's just talk about the books. So we put in the link in there again, and with the site and everything where you can go ahead and purchase it. So you can get them as individual patterns, and you can purchase it as an ebook and print book, or tell us what are the different options.
Okay, so you can buy the paperback version, which is this right here, on Amazon and Barnes & Noble, or you can purchase a signed copy from me in my Etsy shop. I have a listing for that. There's also the Kindle version on Amazon, which is the ebook, and then you can buy the ebook PDF version directly from me, which is at that link. Or you can buy the patterns individually on Ravelry and Etsy if you just want those. So, yeah.
Love it. Love it. And we also should say that we were talking too that there is an upcoming crochet along that's going to be happening in a little bit. Do you want to tell us about how they get how they find out more information about that, what qualifies them to get in there, what you're making, or any kind of details you can share about that?
Sure. So I started this just kind of like as an incentive to buying Facebook group called the Crochet For Men Book Club. And if you purchase the book or the patterns from the book, and you fill out the questions. Click the link to join the group and fill out the questions. It'll ask you where you bought it or what you bought, details like that. You can get in, and that's going to be where we're going to have a crochet along. I'm thinking like mid-April. I need to, like tie down some dates, but
Yeah.
Mid-April, we're either going to all do the same sweater from the book, or everybody do something different, but as long as it's from the book. And I don't know, we're going to figure it out, but we're going to do crochet alongs. I'm going to be there for pattern support. I'm going to be there to give you some tips. I mean, I've learned a ton doing all these sweaters. Crocheting for men, like, it's a lot different than crocheting for women. And so I'm going to be sharing some of that stuff. And it's just kind of an exclusive little group for those of us who have the book and are making the patterns.
I love it. I think that's great. I got my email this morning that told me about the book club. I now remember I got my email. I think it was this morning, or was I looking at yesterday's emails? I don't know.
It was this morning, yes. And
This
I
morning.
mailed you your book today.
Oh, yeah. I can't wait to see it. When I get it, guys, we'll show you here again. So you can see it, and we'll link back to it. But yeah, so again, too, if you're not signed up for Michelle's email list, you want to go and do that, because you get to be the first to know about things that are going on, new releases that she's having, any kind of pattern sales in the future, and everything else. We did get another question here. It is from Susan. And Susan would like to know, is this your first book? And what tips can you give for others who might want to self-publish?
Okay, yes, it is my first book. And I would say my tips are utilize YouTube and Google. It really was not a hard process. I mean, the length of it took was just getting the designs made, the patterns typed up, edited, tested, all that. That's what took the majority of the time. And then once I got that done, and I worked with a photographer, so we did pictures and stuff like that. But once I had all that, it really wasn't as hard as I thought it would be. And Amazon has this amazing program where you can, for self-publishers, and they tell you what you need and how you need to format everything. And yeah, I used a lot of YouTube and a lot of Google to figure out what I needed to do. And once I figured it out, I was able to do it. Amazon tells you if you need to do something or you're doing something wrong and all that. So it was really a lot easier than I thought. It is just a process. It's not something you can just, do all of a sudden. It takes a little bit of time and learning. But it was nice because I had full control. I had my own timeline. There's no middleman, so it's all just, I'm able to do it, and I'm able to see everything right away and make changes if I need to, stuff like that. So it was really a learning experience, but a good experience.
Yeah. And we should tell people too, like, if you think about it, some people may say, oh my gosh, a year is a really long time. But if we really break it down, there's 12 patterns in that book, right? Yeah. And if you were designing these patterns as just individual patterns, it's likely that you were probably only going to be producing one per month anyway during the year, because individual patterns take a lot of time too, till you design it and make it and tech edit it and get samples made or have testers do things to make sure it's right. Everything just kind of really takes time in this process. And especially if you're doing it yourself. Like, I know what it's like. And we have, I'll admit, we have a very small team, but at least we have more than just me doing stuff, where, you're doing this full collection by yourself from start to finish, every single piece along the way. And that is just an amazing, amazing accomplishment that I think is so great. And I love too, the way that you decided to do self-publishing, because that doesn't give you a lot of cost when it comes to the book publishing, because of the way you can publish on demand and things like that. But you still have the ebook version if people want it. You still have the individual patterns if people just want one versus getting all of them. So I just love that you have all the different options for people to get exactly what they want.
Yeah. It was, I went back and forth on whether I wanted to do it that way. And ultimately I was like, I want these to be out there. Like, I want somebody to have access to them, whether they can get the book or not. Like, so, it was a need that I saw in the crochet world, and I wanted it to be out there and available to anyone who wanted it.
Yeah. Susan says, thank you for answering her question and for the information. She has always wanted to write a book. So there you go. Maybe there'll be another book writer in the group here.
Yeah.
Um, let's see. Oh, Julia said she's sharing about her Stash Buster sweater. She's using the Upcycle Alpaca blend and her dots hooks, and it has great drape. So that
Oh,
is
awesome.
wonderful. And Pamela says she thinks that it's absolutely, or I think it's astonishing to have published in 1 year. Absolutely amazing. I agree, because it wasn't just the book that she had going on. Like, guys, she didn't go away. Like, that's what I can't get over, is it's not just the book that was happening. It was still everything about her business was still happening.
It was
Or,
rough.
yeah, I can't imagine.
Don't let me fool you. It was a lot, but that was one thing I didn't want to do. I didn't want to ghost my people, and
Right.
I wanted to make sure that I was still around and still relevant. And so I did do less. I did a considerably lot less than I typically would have, but once I got going and I set my deadlines for myself, most of it went as planned.
Yeah, that's awesome. So okay, let's talk about the patterns just a little bit more.
Okay.
So in the book, I know you have hats, you have scarves, and you have garments. Can
Mhm.
you give us a suggestion on if maybe this is our first garment, or maybe just still beginner in garment construction? Which of these patterns in the book are going to be a great place to start if we're not ready to just like jump into anything? Where would you kind of direct people to start?
Well, the great thing about all of the garments is none of them are crazy stitch combos or stitches. A lot of them are single crochet, half double. I think the most complicated would probably be like the herringbone double crochet stitch. So I think honestly, if you're comfortable with like sewing two pieces of crochet together, the Bramley is probably the easiest, which is the one I showed.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I would go with the Guthrie, which is a color block sweater. Let me find it. And it is a variation of the lemon peel stitch, worked from the
Okay.
bottom up in the round. It's
Very
super
nice.
simple, easy to adjust, and simple stitches, double crochet and single crochet stitches, a little ribbing on the trims, but pretty easy.
Yeah.
So, but most of them, I mean, the hoodie is the alpine stitch, so maybe you don't know front post, and then there's a few herringbone, but most of them are very just one stitch patterns or one or two stitches, and pretty simple stitches as well, because
Awesome.
the guys don't love all that frill.
Yeah.
So so I went with simple textures.
Yeah. So are all the garments the same type of construction? Like are they all raglans? Are they all top down, bottom up, or are they kind of just different depending on what the pattern is?
They are a little bit of everything. I have a raglan that is top down. I have a bottom up cardigan. I have two pieces sewn together, four pieces sewn together. Yeah, so there's a little bit of everything.
Yeah. And do you have any tips or tricks or suggestions for measuring the person you're going to make it for? Because obviously you're not well, I mean, you could make it for yourself. Like you could still make these garments for a woman. But if you're going to be making it for a man in your life, you need to know what their size is. And I know asking them to measure themselves is 9 times out of 10 not going to work out to your advantage. So what are your tips and tricks? Do you go and measure them specifically? Are you still measuring like at a bust area? Or is it better to kind of measure a garment that they already have that they love wearing? What are your suggestions for that?
Yeah, so I have a bunch of tips at the beginning of the book that will help with this. Yeah, but I have found that the big thing with guys versus girls is you're going to want to measure and go off of their shoulder measurements, their shoulder to shoulder measurements, because guys have broader shoulders than girls.
Yes.
And my husband, if I measured his chest and went off his chest, he'd be a size small. A size large fits him best because he has a lot broader shoulders. So I tell you how to do it in the book, but the shoulder to shoulder measurement is the one you want to go off of. Even for younger guys like my son and even my little guy, their shoulders are just broader than women's, and that's the better measurement, because then you're going to have tightness here, you're going to have tightness in the arms. So that was a little bit of a learning curve for me, but that is the big thing. Like that is the big thing. And if you can measure them, measure them. And I have a little PDF that you can sign up for. It's on that link that has tips, and it has pictures of where to measure, how to measure.
Awesome.
Like I'm measuring my son, and my husband took a picture of it. So if you can measure them and take all their measurements. If not, I would definitely go off of a sweater that they have already that's store-bought and that fits them well. So
yeah.
Yep. Big difference.
Awesome. There is another question from Margaret about the type of yarn that you're using. Like, do you find that there is a type of, like a fiber content that men typically like she's saying cotton or maybe cotton blends, or, you know, are they kind of, it's not as important to them either, that you've just kind of seen as long as it's the right weight of yarn with the stitch pattern, that's kind of what's most important?
My son did not like the wool. He was like, this is itchy. So I'll remember that next time. So it depends on probably personal preference. The stroll tweed, I use stroll tweed for 2 patterns. My husband really liked that. Swish, there's some swish in there. Anything just like us, if it's soft and comfortable, they like it. They were fine with it. And a lot of it was drape. I considered texture, stuff like that. And yeah, I would say for the most part, as long as it was comfortable, they were fine. So the only complaint I got was the one sweater. My son was like, this is not comfortable. I was like, oh, sorry.
Not win them all, right?
I know. I'm like, wait a minute. So
we should also say that because it's a lot of the garments, they're going to take more yarn. Just in general, garments take more yarn. And if you're shopping for it and you're using 10 or more balls of the same yarn family, you can use the code MYYARNPACK, all one word, to get 10% off. So that's if you have any sweaters that you're working either in the book or wherever else, and you're going to get 10 balls of the same thing. So it doesn't have to be the same color. It would just have to be the same family, which would be here, the Capra. So if you bought 10 Capra, then you could use the code. Or if you buy 10 of the stroll tweed to make the hooded pullover, right? It had a hood. Yes.
Yeah.
I'm not making this up. A hooded pullover. If you're using more than 10, if you're using 10 or more balls, you can go ahead and you can use that coupon code to just make it a little bit of a better price for you to go ahead and make these wonderful garments. So that code, we'll write it in here. Let me quick type it in here, is My Yarn Pack. And you could just put that in. Oh, Jen got it. Sorry, she beat me to it. You just put that in when you're checking out, and then that'll work to give you that 10% discount on those yarns. And no, wait, what were all the yarns? You said stroll, tweed.
Yeah.
You said, did you use wool of the Andes?
Wool of the Andes, swish. I've got swish worsted and swish DK. I think that's Brava Sport. Yeah, definitely use those. I think that's about it.
So there's a lot of great yarns in there that you can go ahead and you can grab them and you can purchase them to make these wonderful garments. And you can get a little bit of a discount with it too when you're purchasing to make these garments, because we know it adds up to a lot of yarn. It's just the nature of making a beautiful garment. And, you know, how do we say no, right?
Yeah.
So thank you so much for joining me today and sharing about the book. I hope everybody goes out and grabs a copy. Most importantly, though, make sure you're signing up for Michelle's newsletters, following her on social media, so that you know every time she has something new coming out, because that's going to be critical for you to see anything new that's coming out later this year and what she has going on. Because I mean, if you look at this cardigan, you'll know you're not going to be disappointed in what you're getting. I know I certainly am not, and will continue to make Michelle's projects. So make sure you follow her. Check out the patterns and the book. And like I said, there are some really great garments in there that you could make even if you're not a man or a boy. You know, you could still make it for yourself, make it a little oversized, you know, make it that boyfriend fit
style. Yeah.
So it's not like you can't use it. There's still the hats, there's still scarves. They're going to make great gifts. You've got plenty of time to start now to get things done for the holiday season. So get going. And make sure you check out the link that we put in there so you can go directly over to Michelle's website to make your purchase. So thank you so much. It was wonderful to have you and to get to chat. And we'll be back next week with another guest. I can't remember who, but we'll let you know. And we have our last tip Thursday coming up tomorrow for National Crochet Month. So, oh, Susan wants me to move the sweater over. Let me turn it around so you can see like the full stitch pattern.
The Magnolia cardigan.
Yeah, this is the Magnolia cardigan. So it's got the sleeves and it's a longer cardigan. Like I can't show it all, but it is a longer cardigan that you could adjust how long you wanted it by just removing some of these repeats. But it's this really great, like solid section and then an open netting section. It is so beautiful. Now, was this one also done in the, like the swimsuit cover up?
No, there's a Magnolia tee. It's just like a cat sleeve. Yeah.
Yeah. See, Michelle does this really great thing where like she finds something that looks really great and then like makes it in like a cardigan, a pullover, a tee. So it doesn't matter what your style is, you can make it and have it fit you perfectly. And
when I love a stitch, I just go for everything.
Yeah. So it's super great. It's perfect for spring, even into summertime for going in to like cold, like a movie theater or a store or something like that to kind of have along. And you could also cut these off sooner if you just wanted like a 3/4 length or like to your elbow or something like that, because there is no, maybe there was a little shaping. Was there shaping? I don't think there was shaping. I don't remember. You could still cut it off early if you wanted it to be more of like a t-shirt option or something else. So it's really great. I love it so much. I think it's beautiful. Go check it out. Go buy it because you're going to love it too. Grab your yarn. And you can use your Maya yarn pack on this too if your size uses 10 balls or more. So there you go. Win, 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 right? All right. Thanks so much, everybody. And we will see you next time. Have a great day.